Welcome to the garden. Today we have an update on our terrarium Inception. This was a terrarium inside a terrarium, which is inside of a terrarium. This is pretty awesome. The main terrarium is in this beautifully tall jar, and it has a lovely little spruce tree. Just an excellent little evergreen. It's kind of unusual to have a tree in a terrarium, so this has been a lot of fun. And you can see the moss is actually still doing pretty well. I can even see some fresh growth. Right there in the middle, that bright green spot, that looks really healthy. The tree is doing great too. I do keep the lid cracked on this one, just so that the tree can dry out. I think a sealed terrarium would be too moist for this kind of tree. I give it lots of light, and because that lid is cracked, it really doesn't overheat very much. Then we have our tiny terrarium on the inside. It's just completely filled with moss, and there are a few little broadleaf plants. Over there on the right you can see a couple of little leaves. There's a little bit of algae, and that's to be expected. And on our main terrarium here, if we look at the spot that was facing the sun, there's a dark green spot. Isn't that weird? I'm pretty sure that's just algae growth. So I'm going to turn that away from the sun, and we'll probably get a new one over here, but I'd rather have a new one than have that one grow. We don't have too much algae though. We can still actually see the layers, the rock at the bottom, and the soil, and our gorgeous moss. The really fun thing about this one though is there's another terrarium in the lid. That's our third terrarium. I water the terrarium about once a week with the spray bottle. And I'm trying to spray this lid. That moss on the lid is actually kind of making a comeback. So I'm just spraying it with some water, and some of that moisture is actually making it inside the lid. I think the spray bottle helps to not overwater too. It's really easy to overdo it, especially with a tree in here. I want to keep it relatively dry. And I think the moss will actually benefit too, just because of the type of moss it is. Some mosses I think will like extra moisture, but I think this one likes it a little bit more dry. Today I looked in our new terrarium and found a slug. Must have been in here since we introduced the moths. I hope you all enjoyed this update on our 3-in-1 terrarium. The tree's doing great, the moss is hanging in there, and that slug was a really nice surprise. And our tiny terrarium on the inside is doing great. If you want to see how we made that, you can click on this link over here. And if you want to see how we made this whole thing, you can click on this link over here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.